Welcome, Westy. Thanks for doing this interview. How did you get involved with South Bunbury Footy Club?
Well, mate, I left Swan Districts in '78 and came down to Bunbury to teach. And as a Swan Districts player, I should have gone to South Bunbury or Kerry Park as a zone player, but I ended up at Boyne Cable Donut through circumstances. And I wasn't the most popular Swan Districts or person in Bunbury at the time. But I got Boyne Cable Donut. And then after a couple of years there under Terry House, South Bunbury legend, who was coaching us, he left, and I'd had enough at that stage. They were a great club, we had a good time, but we never won anything. And he said, South Bunbury would be a good club for you. And it was the best decision, or the best recommendation I ever had. And I took that recommendation, ended up at South at 1980.
Yep. And involved in 4 premierships, that's quite good too, wasn't it?
Very lucky, very lucky.
Now, what are some of your fondest memories of South Bunbury Footy Club?
Yeah, well, obviously those 4 premierships, 2 undefeated, you can't get much better than that. So after having limited success at Swan Districts and limited success at Boyne Up, but a lot of fun at both those clubs. Footy clubs are great. To win 4 premierships, 2 undefeated, and play with some great players, that was just fantastic, and couldn't have been luckier in that regard.
Mad Mondays were special too then?
Special days, yes. The premierships, the Mad Mondays in the main street of Bunbury. As a teacher, I had to be careful what I did on the Mad Mondays, but we certainly enjoyed ourselves. And I do remember one year I didn't turn up for the Mad Monday, and I actually taught that day. Ended up going to the club about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which is the worst time you can turn up sober anywhere, to a Mad Monday. And I think I ended up with no clothes on in the stage in front of a mixed audience at about 6 o'clock at the club, which was quite an embarrassing situation, but typical of Mad Mondays. And the other things I remember are the players' reviews. We had some fantastic player reviews, and an image that sticks in my mind is Pinger Upson in the Rocky Horror, the G-string and so on. It'll stick in my memory forever. So we had some great times at South.
Yeah. And some memorable moments on bus trips?
Yes, we certainly did. The trips from Market River to Bunbury after a game down there, after a win especially, because we were pretty successful, were legendary really. And then I remember one year someone, I don't know why, but they bought a Sunday Times down in, might have been Bustleton, on the way home when we stopped off for a break, and someone happened to give that rolled up Sunday Times to a big bloke called Oldie, and he decided it'd be funny to walk down the aisle banging everyone on the head. Now you can imagine with Oldie doing that, he's had a few under his belt, and no one was game enough or big enough to stop him, so we all ended up with pretty sore heads that next morning. But yeah, no, a lot of fun.
And a lot of interesting people and characters there. You've named a couple, haven't you?
Yeah, so certainly Duper, my first coach for Snake, legendary bloke, hard but fair, but a caring bloke as well. And he was my coach for the first couple of years, and Duper was fantastic. And obviously Jerry followed on, and he was terrific too. But CB Buswell, the manager, was fantastic, funny bloke, and made every day fantastic at the club. But the Oldie, Pinger, I'm going to miss a few if I start naming them, because great clubs have great people, and I was lucky enough to be at a great club at that time with some fantastic people.
And speaking of all those people, what were your memories of the infamous pre-season camp run by Jerry and Les?
Not good ones, Mick. Les Faber's a tremendous fella too, and a legendary fitness coach guru. But that first run, when we turned up on the first day, and Jez said, we'll go for a light run just to start the camp off. You go down here, and then you turn around and come back. And so a few of the fit boys, and we were in the sort of secondary group, they took off, and they ended up turning and going down to the turn around and came back before we came through, and we missed the turn off. So after running for another hour or so, some of the boys thought this might be a bit too far, but no one was going to say anything, because everyone went, we're going to be tough, we're going to keep running, we're not going to let anyone down. So when blokes have got blood coming out of their joggers, and we thought maybe we've gone too far here, I think we've missed the turn. So I think Sheriff and Watto and a few other, Watto made the turn, but Mark Lambert, I think, was the one that had blood coming out of his Rome joggers, which they were brand new, and he wore it for the first time. We hit the Nannup Road, I think, and we decided, no, I think we better stop. And we thought, now what do we do? Because we had no idea, other than running all the way back, how to get back. So we stood there for a while. This big bloke in a big Chevy come along, believe it or not, the only car for about 20 minutes. And he stopped and he said, "What are you blokes doing?" And he said, "Well, we're supposed to be at this Nanga camp or something." Anyway, he put us in the car, he fitted about 8 of us in this car and took us back, and then these blokes are laughing at us when we got back. We didn't think it was a joke at all, and it was a bloody disaster.
Speaking of infamous moments too, and comments, have you got any comments and memories of the 1985 Grand Final?
I've got no memories of the Grand Final because some bouncer from the Collie Hotel decided to dress up in white with a water bottle and smash me behind the head.
Frozen water bottles, I believe.
And I didn't realise it was a trainer at the time, but I thought it was a bloke I was playing on. But no, that was a pretty wild day, and I retired straight after that. But, no, and I must thank Colin Bench too, who was one of our trainers, and Benji in the replay I saw come out and tackled the trainers. So thanks Benji for trying to protect me, but I was lucky. He hit me in the hardest part of my head and broke his hand, and I come out of it pretty. But no, there was some of the most violent things I've seen in a footy field, and poor old Keithy win. That was bloody terrible. But no, it was still a good win by the boys. We still celebrated, but it's not something I'd like to repeat, that's for sure.
And so you finished playing football, and then you moved on to the football development and women's football. What was your roles there? Yeah,
well, I was teaching down there and doing phys ed, and obviously had the connection with Swans, and they said, "Well, how about you do the pre-season training with a few of our South West recruits?" So I did the pre-season training for them for 1 year, which led into the next year. The Football Commission decided to have country development officers for the first time. I think it was in Australia.
That's right.
And not even Metro development officers. So we were the first 4. Tuck Wardren, legendary cricketer, footballer and politician, minister. He was one of the first with Mike Nucky and Ian Barrow. So the 4 of us in Geraldton had that job, which was fantastic. And then through that, they offered me the junior development job in Perth, which I was reluctant to leave Bunbury because we had such a great time down there, had great friends and fantastic footy clubs and so on. But we decided to go to Perth, did that, became general manager of development, and then AFL Sports Ready, which is a traineeship. I was a general manager there with young trainees.
Yeah,
great. And then the footy with the girls, that was interesting. I've been having 2 girls, and that I was always keen on girls having equal opportunity. So when I got the chance to coach Claremont, of all teams, which is one of the teams you used to hate it when you're playing waffle, because they were pretty successful in my day. But I got a chance to coach there, and that was an interesting experience. And I've always been a big advocate for women's footy, and I'm so glad it's going so well now.
It is, isn't it?
Jan Cooper, one of my mates, Johnny Cooper, his daughter, fantastic lady. She was the instigator of that. But it was an interesting experience. There was quite a different culture. That was a different thing I had to get used to. But the girls were the best player students I've ever. They wanted to learn everything. They soaked up everything you told them. So it was an enjoyable experience, but frustrating at times.
Yeah. Your greatest football achievement, on or off the field?
I mean, winning premierships was everything, but I suppose I've only had 2. I was obviously thinking about with Bakes and a few other legends. The only 2 moments I remember that I really were personal achievements was my first league game at Swan Districts against East Perth. To run out against people that Billy Walkers and the legends of the game, and be out there and you're just starstruck. But that was fantastic. I suppose the only time I ever got any decent votes was in the Sandover Medal for 1 game over 33 games. And it was quite ironic because the 2 full forwards, Norm Uncle and Mike Olsen, kicked 9 goals each. I kicked 4 and I got 3 votes, so I was happy with that. But,
that's really good, yeah.
It was a great game. That I think both sides kicked about 25 goals each. But, so I was happy with that.
And what are you doing now? And are you involved in sport or football anyway?
No, well, I'm working for the Fathering Project now, which is a charity that helps dads be the best they can be. They help men with their mental health and being the best dads and fathers and men they can be. So that's very rewarding. Part-time in Victoria. I never thought I'd say that. A WA person who's been pretty, parochial to live in Victoria, but also obviously families over here, daughters and son-in-law. And the only footy involvement I'm now is a joy that I kick the footy with my grandsons, and I reckon that's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, great. Now, anything you wish to say to the members, supporters and players that will be watching this?
Well, I think if you're a member of South Bunbury Footy Club, you are very lucky because you're part of one of the best clubs in Australia, metro, country, wherever you want to be. They had a great history, they're made up of great people, they're players, officials, and supporters, and so enjoy your time there. If you're playing, do the best you can, and hopefully enjoy some success like we were lucky enough to do. But it's a great club, and I thank them, and they've got a special part in my heart. So.